You only have to walk a few feet to encounter beautiful women in every direction. But please take a breath. It's not just that. There's music, there's dancing, and a nightlife that, let's just say, makes many foreigners forget their passports, their common sense, and sometimes even the reason for their trip. It is quite astounding how quickly some individuals become smitten with the island, wouldn't you agree? When life gets tough, we open the Bible. In Cuba, when life gets tough, they open a ration book. It is this that determines whether your family will eat rice or simply subsist on faith alone. And while the tourist is busy snapping photos with classic cars from the 50s, poof, the entire country suddenly goes dark for a full 12 hours, as if someone just unplugged Cuba from the grid. Then you think, is it over now? But not at all. That's when a neighbor shows up, knocking on the door asking for sugar because hers ran out and there are no refills in the ration book. When you open it, it's a Cuban neighborhood meeting. 3 neighbors arrive, coffee's brewing, laughter erupts, and everyone shares what they don't have. And look, what if I told you some of them not only share, but are incredibly generous, because they give and give quite profusely, if you know what I mean. Because some people earn so little, so very little, that they end up resorting to a special talent to make ends meet. In Cuba, some individuals can earn in a single night what others don't make in a month. Capitalism certainly thrives there, you see, particularly in one of humanity's most ancient professions. When a foreigner appears, the smiles glow even brighter. This is Cuba, beautiful, musical, photogenic, and completely insane. A mix of survival, improvisation, and community spirit that would make any screenwriter say, "No, impossible. No one will ever believe it." Yet today, you are about to discover the authentic, real Cuba. The ration book that governs a Cuban's life. Imagine beginning your adult life and alongside your identity card, the government presents you with a small book that essentially dictates your monthly food allowance. Seriously, it's no joke. In Cuba, that little ration book quite literally serves as the ultimate remote control for mere survival. Every house has one. Every person is registered in it, and every food item you receive is crossed off by hand. It actually reminds me of when I was a kid and my mom would send me to buy on credit at the local grocery store. It's as if you went to the market, picked up a bag of rice, and then someone literally stamped it onto your forehead. "Come back next month, champ." And the craziest part isn't that it's per person. Sometimes it's for 3 or 4 individuals, a single can of oil for the whole family. How does that even function? It simply doesn't. That's a reality no outsider truly grasps. Cubans receive rice, sugar, salt, oil, coffee, pasta. Same old, always counted. It's almost a phantom basic food basket. It appears, quickly vanishes, and never lasts the month. Minimum wage, 2,100 Cuban pesos. That doesn't even cover the cost of a week's worth of food. And this brings to mind a phrase every Cuban has heard: we need to get inventive. Inventing is survival. It's selling what's left over. It's trading what you have. It's improvising. It's living on forced creativity. Because think with me, how do you live for a whole month on food that lasts for 7 days? The answer is simple. You don't live, you improvise. This is where the narrative becomes truly serious. While visitors perceive an exotic nation, the Cuban people endure a daily struggle for survival, where the ultimate goal is merely to secure their next meal. And that's just the introductory chapter, my friend. The rest of the story is far more challenging. Want to see? Community life. If there's one thing that keeps Cuba running, it's not the government, not the economy, not the system. It's your neighbor. In Cuba, community isn't some beautiful concept meant solely for an Instagram post. It truly is pure survival. It's quite common to be cooking, discover you've run out of sugar, and simply knock on your neighbor's door as casually as if you were asking for a lemon. There's no need for ceremony, no let me know first. No, it'll just drop in. A Cuban arrives, enters, and asks, "Have you got some salt?" The wildest part is, nobody bats an eye. It's part of the culture. A Cuban's home is almost a permanent meeting point. The door is always open. Friends, cousins, and neighbors freely enter, and there's an unwritten rule. Coffee is sacred. You just arrived? You're having coffee? You left and came back? Another coffee? Just passing by? Coffee. It's their social Wi-Fi. Everyone connects. And that's beautiful, because even with shortages of food, gas, water, and power, What's never missing is this feeling of being in it together. Cubans make do with little, but they share that little with whoever is around. It's a solidarity tourists miss, yet it greatly shows the strength of these people. While in other countries we send a text asking, "Can I come over?" in Cuba, the protocol is different. You simply knock, enter, and make a beeline for the coffee maker. It's a culture where the struggle for survival is shared, and affection is too. And this creates a huge contrast. The less the state gives, the more the people give to each other. And some give a little bit too much, if you know what I mean, that is. But I'll tell you about that in a bit, okay? This is the beautiful part of the story, the part that holds the country up when everything else is falling apart. But you just have to lower the camera, leave the kitchen, open the door, and the reality changes its tone. Because what's waiting for you outside is a country that lives in the dark, literally. Power outages, shortages, and a life in the dark. Now imagine living in a country where light isn't a right, it's an event. In Cuba, you never know if you'll be having dinner by the stove or in the dark. And I'm not talking about, oh, the power was out for a couple of hours. No. In Havana, the capital city where things work better, it's normal for it to be cut for 4 hours straight, sometimes 8, sometimes 12. And that's the good scenario. Go to the provinces, and the story becomes a horror comedy. 24 hours without power, 30 hours in a row. People cooking with charcoal, with firewood, improvising a stove in the backyard, as if they were on a permanent camping trip. But it's not a camping trip, it's a Tuesday. And when the power goes out, everything goes out. Water runs short because the pumps don't operate. Food spoils because what little you acquire goes bad. Internet access, already expensive, becomes impossible. No gas, as deliveries are scarce, often taking 6, 7, or even 8 months to arrive. Yes, 8 months waiting for a gas canister. Those who use gas have to make it last. This small item here must endure for at least 6 months. It's a wartime strategy. And while tourists capture the sunset at the Malecon, the Cuban is meticulously calculating whether to prepare food today or conserve it for tomorrow, never knowing when the electricity might cut out once more. It's like living with a broken clock, where your routine hinges on something beyond anyone's control. And the craziest part is that, even so, the Cubans find a way. When the lights go out, they find humor. When the gas runs low, they invent solutions. When there's no water, they find a way. When there's nothing left, they dance. However, the harsh truth is that Cuba endures darkness, not poetically, but due to a lack of options. And that's precisely when you realize that the everyday existence of Cubans isn't centered around planning, but rather on continually navigating and enduring permanent improvisation. And while the darkness swallows entire houses, there's one thing that never goes out: the music. And that brings us to yet another surprising aspect of this narrative. Check this out: transportation that's gone back in time. If you genuinely want to understand Cuba, then don't just look at the buildings, the houses, or the streets. Look at the cars, because that's the perfect summary of the country, a nation stuck in the past, moving forward because it has no other choice. In Cuba, taking transport is like entering a time warp without permission. The famous classic American cars, those iconic vehicles from the 50s, aren't just there for your Instagram photos. These cars are the people's transport, their bus, their Uber, their way to make ends meet. You climb into a car that has witnessed 5 generations come and go, the seat groans, the engine whirs like a weary fan, and the driver greets you with a grin that says, "Get in, it's running today." If not, he'll tap the hood, give it a puff, and coax it into action. It's emotional engineering. And public transport? It's cheap, absurdly cheap, but it can't handle everyone. Few buses, routes, and limited infrastructure. Crowds fight for space as if their lives depend on fitting inside that bus. Then you think, okay, so there's private transport, right? There is, but it costs as if you were in Miami. Except you're not earning a Miami salary. You're earning a Cuban salary, 2,100 Cuban pesos. You can't even afford to fuel the car you don't possess. And that's where a most amusing yet heartbreaking reality emerges. Cubans navigate their world solely through their own ingenuity. Hitchhiking, custom cars, engines that defy logic yet still run, buses that show up whenever they please, a friend of a friend who knows a secret route. All of this is accepted with a naturalness that truly bewilders any tourist. In many parts of the world, being late is a sign of disrespect. In Cuba, being late is fundamental logic, it's mathematics, it's emotional engineering applied to transport. Just consider, how can you ever be punctual when the whole country appears to be perpetually stuck in 1958? That's why Cuba is so unique. It doesn't progress due to lacking infrastructure, yet it doesn't cease because options are scarce. It's a country that lives by running on its past, but with people who insist on moving on. And in the middle of this crazy journey through time, there's a crucial piece missing: the connection to the world, the internet access. This is where the story shifts dramatically. Care to see? But wait, we'll get to the generous women shortly. But before that, share this video with that one particular friend of yours who's always open to a little generosity, if you catch my drift. Internet access, Cuba's most expensive luxury. If you wish to gauge a nation's level of modern development, simply observe its internet connectivity. In Cuba, well, the ruler breaks. For many years, having internet access was like something out of a sci-fi movie. People didn't even dream of opening Facebook, let alone Instagram. It felt like the outside world existed, but on Wi-Fi, that never reached. Then, in recent years, boom, things improved. Wi-Fi spots appeared in public squares. The signal was kinda weak, kinda shaky, with people gathered at 10 at night holding their phones up, trying to find a digital lifeline. And Cubans rejoiced. Finally, we are connected. But that celebration was short-lived. Extremely short. In recent months, internet costs have made it a luxury item. You don't just go on social media because you want to anymore. You go on because you've planned it, saved up, and thought very carefully before spending those hard-earned megabytes. It's almost as if you needed to consult your wallet and get its permission before even thinking about sending a voice message on WhatsApp. That's precisely the feeling. Is it truly worth watching a 30-second video only to then have no internet access for 2 whole weeks? Thus, digital life contrasts with the rest of the world. While we're accustomed to grumbling about slow internet, Cubans navigate life essentially in emergency internet mode. Watch a live stream? Forget it. Watch YouTube? Only if you're a data millionaire. Making a video call then? Only if it's a birthday for your mother, and even so, it's quite painful to bear. It takes a toll on education, on work, on communicating with family living abroad. In Cuba, disconnecting isn't a choice, it's reality. It feels as though the nation moved 1 step ahead, yet took 3 steps in reverse. And you actually feel all of this even before you launch Instagram, because before you even post a photo, you really need to resolve a more basic concern, which is having internet access in the first place. Something that in Cuba can decide whether you cook today or only tomorrow. The Cuban way of finding joy in chaos. There's one thing in Cuba that no power outage, no queue, no rationing system can destroy: a good mood. It's almost supernatural. It's like the country was built on 3 pillars: improvisation, coffee, and music. Always music. When the power goes out, the gas is late, and the water isn't running, what does a Cuban do? They laugh, they dance, they even crack jokes about their own tragic circumstances and transform their humble living room into a makeshift stage. It's cultural, it's in their blood, it's their identity. You walk into a Cuban home and it feels like someone hit the party mode button without warning. If there's an old speaker in the corner, that's it. The living room becomes a dance floor. Sun, salsa, reggaeton, no matter. With music, even tragedy lightens. And the most beautiful thing is this: Cubans know life is hard, but they don't let hardship swallow their joy. There are people who found that survival also means dancing, that amid bills, shortages, and power outages, a smile can still emerge. That shared sadness becomes a powerful force, and having a good laugh with neighbors is just as vital as having rice and beans for the month. When you look at the country from an outsider's perspective and ponder, how do they endure all of this? The Cuban will meet your gaze and, with a knowing smile, answer, "We endure it because we have music." This creates a profound contrast. A fractured nation, yet its entire people steadfastly refuse to be fractured along with it. Yet, that's precisely where the true surprise lies. For while happiness endures within their homes, beyond those walls, a facet of the island exists that virtually no tourist will ever encounter, and it elucidates a great deal about the authentic goings-on in Cuba. The concealed facet of tourism, transactional tourism. Every tourist who steps into Cuba experiences the same film: vintage cars gleaming, music filling the streets, the aroma of rum, and people dancing with smiles that appear to have been created right there on the spot. Cuba is beautiful. Cuba is alive. Cuba is photogenic. But Cuba has two sides: what the camera shows and what's never discussed. Within that hidden layer, a phenomenon exists, as common as dirt on the island: transactional tourism. And hold on, this isn't an exaggeration or sensationalism. This is pure and simple social reality. Transactional tourism is the name given to the way many people survive when their salary isn't even enough to buy rice, when cooking gas only comes every 6 months, and when internet access costs half their income. It's Cubans surviving with their assets: charm, good talk, presence, companionship. At the very least, they're offering what they have, aren't they? It's not manipulation, it's a wartime economy. It's the people trying to make do in a country where the official money doesn't work. When you stroll through Havana's tourist zones, you'll see young people impeccably dressed, fragrant, and groomed as if attending a party. But it isn't a party, it's work, a strategic move, an endeavor to seek their luck with a tourist who happens to have a few extra dollars in their wallet. And why? Because a skilled worker earns $20 or $30 a month, but a tourist spends that much on just one dessert. And this gives rise to a harsh, virtually merciless disparity. The underlying principle is straightforward. Tourists seek enjoyment, while Cubans strive for survival. Some transactional companions act as tour guides, others offer companionship, some show you around, help with the language, provide directions, resolve issues, open doors, while still others simply open their legs, if you know what I mean. And then there are those looking for a foreigner to try and leave the country and build another life far from the crisis. The nation is revolving on an emotional and economic axis, unseen in glossy brochures. And to top it off, a new generation emerged: cyber transactional tourism. People using Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, live streams and photos, all to survive. Not out of vanity, but out of necessity. It's the updated modern version of Cuban improvisation. And honestly, it's hard to judge, because when the power is out, the food is gone, the gas is gone, and opportunity is gone, what's left? What remains is creativity, a sense of desperation and courage. Behind the joy that tourists see, there's a country that has learned to smile through pain, to dance while hungry, and to improvise with dignity. It's a contrast that no tour guide explains. Cuba is joyful in its music, but tragic in its economy. It's warm in its embrace and cold in its empty refrigerator. The tourist believes they are embarking on an adventure. In contrast, the Cuban is engaged in a daily struggle, and it is precisely within this contrast that one truly uncovers the authentic Cuba, a visual paradise that is sustained by a resilient people who achieve miracles on a daily basis. The real Cuba isn't the postcard of classic cars and music in the streets, but an island with power outages, water and gas shortages, and a lack of opportunity, where people keep smiling out of pure resistance. It's a beautiful and sad country at the same time, where joy coexists with need, and where every neighbor becomes a part of your survival. Cuba is sunshine and shadows, it's dancing and rationing, it's allure and shortages. And only those who delve beyond the pictures truly grasp what the average tourist misses: a resilient people who live by their wits, yet steadfastly refuse to dim their inherent radiance. Now comment below, what part of life in Cuba shocked you the most? Is it the frequent power outages, the gas supply that only comes every 8 months, or the ration book dictating your monthly food allowance? Comment Cuba if you haven't given up on us and made it this far. And be sure to click the video on the screen right now, because it will unveil a different reality that very few people dare to speak about, and that will fundamentally alter your entire perception of the world. Thanks everyone, and see you next time. I'll see you there.